Inspirational. Powerfully refining. And unapologetically controversial. Conversations with the Royal Empress. The entire world knows the secret of who you are. Now is the time to step into your queendom and become the Royal Empress that you're meant to be. One woman at a time. Conversations with the Royal Empress. Now Akila, she's the analytical Empress. Akima, she's the Empress that will challenge you. And Lakashay Nadira, she's the Empress who tells it like it is. Now, straighten up your crown and be elevated through conversations. Conversations with the Royal Empress.
And blessings. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Conversations with the Royal Empress. And joining us in this conversation this evening is our sister, Dr. Hakima Jihad, Sister Akila Shabazz, and myself, Lakashay Nadira Muhammad. We are extremely excited and we're looking forward to you joining us this evening as we discuss Black family. Why do we have such a disdain and hatred for one another? What is that all about? Do you sisters get that? Is that something that you all have seen within your experiences? Chime in.
All I think about sometimes with that is, boo-boo, who hurt you? Why are you mad?
Who you mad at?
Who you mad at? What's wrong?
So am I not the only one? Yeah. So why are we so mad? Why does it seem like, and don't get me wrong, I see Black families coming together in this day and time more and more and giving a lot of love for one another. But on the flip side of that, I do see a lot of hatred for one another. I see a lot of disdain. And I'm just wondering, what is at the root of that and why?
Why are
what
we?
you sisters think?
I believe is, that's all part of the enemy's goal and desire was to break us and to reduce us to a people with no God, no religion, no culture. And our actions are the result of that. We carry years of pain that's been passed down from generation to generation, and that's where I think the anger stems from. We angry at each other. I mean, when people are not happy, when you're not happy, you're angry with everyone that's around you. And as a people, we're not happy. So because we're not happy as a people, we angry. And we angry and we take it out on one another. So if I show anger towards you, it's because I'm angry with myself. I'm angry with my people. I'm angry with God. I'm angry with everybody.
So now you started off, you were talking about the white man. And I'm sure some of our listeners might even have the question, why is it that it seems that Black people who are talking some level of consciousness or wokeism, if that's a word, want to talk about the white man and what he did? So would you say that our anger and our feelings of hate and disdain towards one another stems from the white man? Are we blaming him again for something?
Well, I mean, yeah, there are people who feel like, oh, you in hotel Black folks or you pro-Black folks got anger issues toward white people. We have every right to have anger issues toward white people. Look at the condition of our people. Look at the path that it took for us to get there, hanging us in trees. I just read an article where a sister was hung down in Georgia. I mean, come on, it's 2018. Black folks being hung? I mean, not even.
I mean, but when our Black folks are just going to get over it?
Huh?
I'm just saying, I'm playing advocate. When are Black people just going to get over some of the pain that the white man has inflicted upon them.
We'll get over it when justice is served. But go ahead, sister. When justice is served, then we'll get over it. And justice haven't been served. Go ahead, Sister Keela. I would love to hear what you got to say.
I was going to say that this reminds me of a book by Dr. Joy DeGruy, I believe is her name, about post-traumatic slave syndrome. And I think that...
You calling me a slave, sister?
I'm saying post-traumatic slave syndrome is what I'm saying. So now you think I'm calling you a slave. I say post-traumatic. Post means afterwards. So...
Because I'm just asking the question.
Some people don't know what post means.
Right. Post means an after effect. So it's past, it's beyond. So the slave syndrome, but it's post-traumatic. So it's after the fact. And
I see.
So this sister did a 12-year quantitative and qualitative research developed under her theory about post-traumatic slave syndrome, and she posted her findings. And basically, it's a theory that explains the etiology of many of the adaptive survival behaviors of African American communities throughout the United States and the diaspora. So, and it's about multi-generational oppression of black people and their descendants for centuries in chattel slavery. So you're going to get some of that residue, some of that left over. So some of that self-hatred is passed down. Some of that anger. Even to me, and I've said this before, I don't think people just like wake up and become Uncle Tom. Sometimes I think that's generational. I sometimes when I see people who are like that, I wonder if we trace their tree, will their ancestor be what was his name in Django?
I knew you were gonna say that. I forgot his name, but the one who was played by
Samuel L. Jackson.
Samuel L. Jackson, right?
Yeah, are we gonna find him at the door? So. But seriously, it's like that's part of it, and I think that it's a good book for people to check out to really understand. When we talk about what is at the root of some of the dysfunction in our community and the self-hatred, and obviously, if I hate myself, how do I love my brother or sister who looks like me? So you're a reflection of me. I don't even have self-love. That's why I think when we talk about the root causes of it. A lot of it stems from self-hatred, but where did the self-hatred come from? And that's passed down multi-generational, where you've been beaten and battered. And so it's not necessarily, we're blaming the white man, but the reality of it is that systemic racism, it's a symptom. So we still suffer behind that. But it's not about blaming white people as far as I'm concerned. Now it's like, where's the ownership for us? Because when you know better, you should do better. And we have research out there now. We have the ability. We have a level of consciousness where we're learning about ourselves and who we are and who we really are. The same way we talked before about telling a black woman who she was, who we are. Once you realize who you are, it's like we have to start dismantling that generational curse, so to speak.
So how do you dismantle such a thing when it has such a chokehold? When you think about shackles, it's not easy to come up out of a shackle. When you think about a chain that's been in existence for over 400 plus years, passed down from one generation to the next, it's not easy. How would one go about dismantling such a thing? Understanding who they are. Say that again.
Hakima?
Accepting your own and being yourself. Being in a nation of Islam over 20 years, I saw the transformation of the black man and woman. I've lived the transformation of a black woman, going from a slave mindset to a righteous mindset. I lived it. Why? Because I wholeheartedly accepted the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad as taught to us by Minister Farrakhan. I wholeheartedly believed in it, and I applied it, and it works. I went from that slave mentality to a woman who accepts her own and be yourself and understanding who the true and living God is. I tell anybody, you want to change your mindset, take a message to the black man. It will change your life. It did Malcolm X, who everybody loved. They love Malcolm X so much. Study his life and how he transformed. He was transformed through the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Slavery was psychological more than anything, and so is the transformation of the black man and woman. For us to be reformed, it has to be psychological.
When I hear people oftentimes talk about the slave mentality, or being a slave. And not to be funny or anything like that, or just act as if I'm just, ignorant, but I'm asking this question, what is that? What is it to be a slave or to think like a slave or to be an Uncle Tom? Because I'm almost sure that people who might fit that description, do we really believe that they know that that's what they're being and what that actually is? What is it? I mean, what are the characteristics? How would one identify somebody who's like that, so that for those out there who might take a look in the mirror after, being given this description, they can go about making a change?
Well, I'll give you an example. If your brother or sister is trying to do something good and you got negativity in your heart for them, you have hatred in your heart for them, that's one example. We all have experienced it from the society in which we come up out, the community in which we come up out of. And in the black community, everywhere, there's some hate going on. We experience it every day. If you experience that hatred for your brother or sister when they're trying to do good, then right there that you got a disease in your heart, and you need to address that. You need to get on your knees and pray, and not pray to no spooky God. You need to pray to the true and living God. And you need to be specific. You need to get on your knees and say, God, Lord, help me. I have a disease in my heart. See, we like to get on our knees and come with this fake behavior. We want to come with this fake identity to God and think it's gonna work. That's why when you tell people to pray, they don't really believe that ain't gonna work. I know it ain't gonna work, because you ain't gonna be real when you get on your knees and pray. But when you get on your knees and say, you know what, I ain't no good, I need to be.
Can I stand up and pray?
Don't really work. Well, when you can, but if you want to reach the ultimate benefit of prayer, getting on your knees is showing humility. Getting on your knees is you humbling yourself. You get on your knees and saying, I'm not as great as I think that I am. I am not greater than the Lord God creator. I'm not greater than him. I have to come to him and show him that I'm not greater than him, that I'm humble, that I need to show forth that I'm trying to be his servant. That's the whole point of getting on your knees.
I see.
I mean, it's more to that, but that's enough, and that's more to that.
But do you feel that our people have already been on their knees long enough? Because it seems like.
But what God are we on our knees?
Wait a minute, I'm sorry. Y'all know I'm always busting out in song, right?
Oh, you got to sound what?
She said, I know you're down. When you gonna get up? But go ahead.
I mean,
you're supposed to sing that, not sing.
I don't think they want to hear me sing. We don't want to run folks away.
but to answer your question, Lakashay, it's like, there's two entities that you can pray to. You can pray to God. You can pray to the devil. We pray to the devil, and we wonder why God don't listen to us. Who are you?
What do you mean when you say that, though? And what does that mean when you say we pray to the devil? I mean, I know people who will be extremely offended listening to you say that we pray or they pray to the devil. What does that mean? How does one pray to the devil?
Well, first and foremost, when you get on your knees and I like to tell people, praying to yourself. You get on your knees and you come with this holier than thou attitude, like you ain't got no faults. Oh, Lord, guide me. You know how people like to do when you don't be real. It's like in a conversation and somebody lying to you and you say, stop right there. You lying to yourself and you sure as hell lying to me. I need you to be real. See, when you get on your knees and you have no intention to come clean, to confess your sins, you ain't praying to God. You ain't. You praying to the devil. You understand my point? I don't want to sound preachy. I just want to come hard because, I like to come hard. I don't like to come preachy.
We know you like to bring it hard.
I like to come
That's
hard.
why your name is the truth. Hard. HAQQ, meaning the truth. You represent. It's all good.
It's the truth, though. I don't want to get into a color issue because if I say, the true living God is black God. See, the problem is our ideology of God is a white man. So, of course, when we go to pray, this is what we visualize. You praying to the devil. That's not even of your origin. That's not even original. That's our problem. And then when you do teach people the true and live, want to say is why I got to be color in it, because color was brought in the first place. If there was no question of God or the origin of God, if we're made in God's image and we're the original people and we're black, that means God is black. That's what that means. So if people don't want color to be brought in it, then color should never been brought into it anyway. We never brought color into it. If it was never a question. Black people didn't bring up the color issue with God. The European did. And he did that in a manner so that he can enslave us. If he got us thinking that we're bad and everything that's of God is white and everything that's of the devil is bad and black, then that's why we think that everything white is better. We think that God got to be white because if you have to associate good and God together. So if good is white, then God is white. So everything that we get on our knees and pray for or pray to, or the ideology behind it has to go to, I got to go to white man to get it. Because we'll get up off our knees and what we'll do, we'll go seek it from European.
Now I have a different take.
Okay, let's say that.
Sometimes I think that there's a song.
You want to hear? Here go.
but I'm not gonna sing the song. But there's a song by this brother named Elias Apprentice called "Prayer," and he in part of the lyrics he says, "I used to pray a whole lot, but I had a whole lot missing. I had a hole in my soul. So when I talked to God, but I never would listen." So I don't know that sometimes it's that people are praying to the devil so much as it's that they have holes in them, and they're mimicking the action of prayer, but they don't really believe what it is that they're saying. And so God could be talking, but you're not listening because you want to do what you want to do. And so and sometimes your prayers are faulty because you're praying for something that don't even make any sense. So
can I get a new car?
Can I
get a new car? Can I get a new job?
And that's okay if that's what you need. You put that out there. But I'm just saying that I think that sometimes it's just that people are praying for things that they don't even believe in because it's lip service. It's just work, and so that's why sometimes people are like, well, why aren't my prayers answered? And so
well, your prayers aren't answered because you haven't gotten up off of your knees and you haven't went to work.
Yeah.
Because when you kneel down and you're making a request, yes, we know that there is a higher power, but we also know that God has given us within inside of ourselves the same capability of being able to push forward and move. And I believe that that's the key thing that's left out. We don't see ourselves in the image and the likeness of the Creator that created us. So if you are my Father, and I really believe that you're my Father and you are great, then I believe that I'm great too. Unless, as Maury Povich would say, you ain't the Father. So if you're not the Father, if you're not the mother, then I don't see a connection with you. And I don't think that I came from you. I don't think that there's greatness in me. But once I recognize that there is greatness in me because I come from greatness, like we discussed in our inaugural podcast, if I know that I come from greatness, then naturally I will begin to act as if I'm great. So in addition to praying and really just having a conversation, then I'm blessed with the mind and the spirit and the energy that's needed to help to force me up off of my prayer rug, standing up like a man or a woman and going to work. Because the work is within you. You can't keep praying for a loaf of bread and then waiting for it to be delivered. How are you going to pray and ask God to give you something that you're capable of getting up and going to get yourself? Now, that's foolish.
Well, there's an African proverb that says, pray, then move your feet. So, so it's that whole concept of faith without work is dead. So there has to be some action behind your prayer. And so if you're sincere, but in this conversation, we're talking about, being sincere, but removing the hatred, removing the poisons from in you. Do you really want to remove it? Do you really want to be unified as a people? Because we're seeing all over social media just we're dogging each other out.
Give me an example of what you mean.
We're dogging each other out. I mean, just in terms of what we say. The black, you'll see posts by black women complaining about black men. Black men are no good. Black men, I saw something, is the white man's tool. Then you got black men turning around talking about how black women are not supportive. You'll call a sister a bed wench, anything. And I don't care if you feel like somebody's mentality is not where yours is, or if you feel like somebody is not as conscious as you are. You can attract more bees with honey than vinegar. You're not going to capture the hearts of the people by dogging them out. If you see somebody who's talking like that, who you feel are all of these attributes, these negative attributes, then when do you lead with love? When do you reach out to them to try to pull them up out of whatever darkness you feel that they're in? But talking about each other, all this back and forth, all it does is fuel more and more hatred between us, and that's ridiculous, because how do we unify?
You make a very excellent point, Akilah. I'm so glad that you brought that up, because I think what happens is when people get knowledge sometimes, you've heard the same things going to one's head. Sometimes we get a big head, and our head has so much weight in it that it can barely fit on our body anymore, meaning that we feel that we've reached a level, because, see, everybody was at a state where they didn't know at one point in time in their life. So when a person comes into the knowledge of who they are, if you really understand the knowledge of who you are, then you actually understand that the root of that is love, because we're created in love. So in me understanding and accepting my own and being myself and understanding the knowledge of God, the knowledge of self, that means that I understand that I was birthed into this world out of love. And if I truly love my brothers and sisters, and if I truly want for my brother and sister what I want for myself, once I have acquired knowledge, then I'm not going to be often or just constantly criticizing my sister or criticizing my brother or bad-mouthing my brother and sister because they don't think like me or because they're not woke, whatever that means these days.
Or they haven't. I'm sorry.
Huh?
I interrupted.
You said.
I said, because you already know
it's all good.
I already feel like half the people that say that they're woke are not. I think they're in that stage between sleep and being awake. They're hypnagogic. They're not up. So.
That's funny.
So you in between. You sedated. You in a set. And let's stop playing these games with each other, because if you are fully awake, you don't have to criticize somebody else. You don't have to dog somebody else out or try to challenge somebody else's views. That's not what you do when you're awake, and that does not promote love and unity. It just doesn't.
And I think, and that's why I'm glad that you brought that up, because that's the difference, really, with what resurrection looks like. In order to really want to help somebody, that means that you understand where they are, maybe because you've been there before, and even if not, because you have you have an ability to empathize. And in you empathizing, you have a desire to want to pull your brother and sister up so that they can come up to the level where you are. If you feel that you're at a level, that's good. It's no different from how you see people who come up in a certain community and, maybe they hit, some kind of fame or stardom, and then they want to go back and get their brothers and sisters. Say, hey, we all rich. It's a natural thing for someone to want to be able to have you to enjoy what they enjoy. I was taught as long as I have a bowl of soup, then you got half. Because what good is it for me to eat a whole bowl and I see my brother and sister and their bowl and their cup is empty? And I think that's what I see missing and within our community. I do see a lot of criticism. I do see a lot of what appears to be hatred to me. I do see a lot of us not showing love for one another, genuine love, and constantly, just beating each other upside the head with, this is the knowledge I got, you don't have none. But if I don't have none, and if you're my brother, then why don't you want to have your sandwich with me? The sandwich representing the knowledge. Give me some of that lettuce. I want to be, I want to be strong like you, So share. And that's what I do see oftentimes missing.
You're right on it, Lakeisha, because let me read chapter 19 in A Message to Black Man. I'm going to read a paragraph. And chapter 19 is first love yourself, because the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, you lying if you say you love everybody, you love God, but yet don't love yourself. But check this out. He says, one of the greatest handicaps among the so-called Negroes is that there is no love for self, nor love for his or her own kind. This not having love for self is the root cause of hate, dislike, disunity, disagreement, quarreling, betraying, stool pigeon, and fighting and killing one another. Is that not true and exact in 2018? We don't love ourselves. We won't accept our own and be ourselves. We don't love ourselves. And you hit it right on the head, like I say. There ain't no love. And because we don't love each other, this is the end result of this dislike, this disunity, this bickering that the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad just pointed out. And I just have to say this to our listeners. I wish I could just take my eyes out and let the people see what I've witnessed as being a member of the Nation of Islam, seeing an environment where one is taught self-love, one is taught knowledge of God, where one is taught that in this environment we don't allow bickering because we're going to resolve it quickly. We're going to be swift with it. An environment where disunity is not acceptable. And when you have that type of environment, that breeds self-love. You understand? If I'm holding you accountable, if I'm sitting us three on the phone and we talking about another sister, and I say, hold on, I ain't going to let y'all talk about that, talk ill of that sister. If there's a problem, we're going to squash it, but we're not going to bicker and we're not going to quarrel about this sister or backbite or speak ill behind her back. So when we start to hold each other accountable for our ill behavior and demonstrate that self-love, it becomes contagious.
It does.
Right.
And stop backbiting, stop gossiping about each other. My mother told me, she used to tell me when I would tell her, oh, so came to me and told me this, and my mother told me, she said, honey, a dog that'll bring a bone to carry one. So some people keep up mess.
Hello.
They'll bring you information. Well, if they bringing you information, then they taking information somewhere else. So you have to stop that type of stuff at the door too. That's why when sometimes people will call me to gossip about somebody, and I'm like, no, I don't know. Yeah, I don't want to hear it.
Right. We have to shut it down.
You have to shut it down.
We have to shut it down. And that's really what it means, or that's part of the protection of entering into a true sister and brotherhood. Because we look out for one another. Not that, okay, you my ace and you my homie and, I'm just looking out for you. I respect you as my brother I respect you as my sister, and I respect the hood, okay? The hood and sister and the hood and brother. And because of that, then it is my duty to stand post and stand guard and make sure that I don't allow anything to enter within this circle of sisterhood or brotherhood that will bring us harm and danger. And one of the most harmful and dangerous weapons that we have amongst our own and outside of our own is that wicked little slithering tongue. It sisters like a snake. And once it gets into the ears and the heart of men and women who might be victims or might be weak, it can wrap its little nasty self around and literally suck the life up out of you. Mm-hmm. So we have to be careful of the slinking devil. Mm-hmm. The slinking devil, in this case, I'm speaking of the tongue. But it comes from the heart. What's on your heart, brother? What's on your heart, sister? Do you feel some kind of way about this sister over here, about this brother? The fact that you want to bring me bad news, the fact that you light up when you find out that something bad has happened to your sister or your brother, then what that is speaking to, that's speaking to a disease that's in your heart. Yeah, I mean, so when we think about that, we just have to be very careful. If we are our sister's keeper, if I'm my brother's keeper, then a true keeper is going to make sure that even when I fall, even when I slip, so let's say we're having a conversation and we're talking, and maybe we might feel that one of our sisters may have wronged us. What is the proper way to handle that? Is it to continue the conversation and continue to talk about, well, she didn't do this and she should have did this and she should have did that? Well, for one, she's not here to represent herself. So since she's not, let's invite her on in the conversation. Hey, sis, how you doing? We were all talking, and sis over here, she has some concerns. And so we thought it'd be best that we bring you into the circle of conversation so that we can all be on the same page, so that if there's any misunderstanding, we can clear this up. It's not to have a secret council and be in a conversation and we're talking about our sister, because that's not helping, right? So I think a lot of it has to do with us helping one another when we find that the other person is weak. Because, I have fallen victim to the same thing. Being a part of conversations that may not necessarily be on the highest frequency. But my sister, when she sees that I'm weak, then it's her job to pull me back. When a brother sees that his brother's weak, it's his job to pull us back. That's how we keep the ranks of sister and brotherhood tight. And this is how we prevent the hatred. So when we originally started off the conversation, we're talking about why is it that we see so much hatred within the black family? Why is it that we see so much disdain and so much ill treatment? And we understand it comes from the lack of love for ourselves and our brother and sister. But these are examples of how we can nip that right in the bud before it even gets started.
And don't be afraid to go get some help.
Yes. Yes.
We, when we talk about some of the things, there are things that we can do. Therapy really is a good thing, and we need it.
Yes,
we have to be very careful with the therapist that we choose. Obviously, I'm not saying just go out there and get anybody, but we really do. It's the disease of envy and hatred and distrust that we have one another.
Ooh, that distrust. Doesn't that sound like something familiar to you all? What does that sound like? Like maybe that Willy, what's his name? Willy Wonka? Just slow down. No. How about Willie Lynch?
Although some people don't believe that Willie Lynch was real, but the concept of it is.
Yeah, whether one believes that he's real or not, what I will tell you is that the effects of the Willie Lynch are definitely real, because we see it every single day. And actually, that's the reason that we're able to even have such a conversation that is even relevant, because we see the remnants. We see the spoiled leftovers of the Willie Lynch syndrome manifested in hatred.
Yeah. And what we see is what the sister, when I talked about earlier, it's post-traumatic slave syndrome.
Right.
We are suffering, and it's no different when people talk about PTSD. I think I said it right.
Yes.
It needs treatment. It needs treatment, and maybe it's not necessarily going and sitting on, a traditional therapist's couch, but it is understanding that you are suffering from something that needs a cure. And we are suffering, and we need a cure, and we need to stop. How do we stop doing this? How do we stop hating one another? How do we stop mistreating one another? We are constantly sharing things on social media that does not elevate us, that does us no good. It's like we take joy and pleasure out of somebody else's downfall and somebody that looks like you. We don't have to do that. We don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. Every time something happens, and particularly with celebrities, every time something happens, you're sharing the gossip. If you share the post, it's still gossiping. You don't have to open your mouth and call me to tell me, girl, this. But if I share it, what's the difference?
That's true. That's a good point, man.
Why are you sharing other people's misfortune? Why are you laughing at other people's misfortune? Or they get in trouble and we're acting like we're so clean and holy. Like you don't have no skeleton, that you don't have some bones that'll come flying out of the closet when you open that closet door up. But you have the nerve to talk about somebody else, but that's because also misery loves company. So
that's a good point. Our problem is the company that we keep. It's our peers. We care more about what our peers think about us than what God thinks about us. You understand? We more concerned with I don't want my friends to look at me a certain way. So if my friends are sitting up talking about people, I might not even want to do it, but I want to be accepted by a group. And so the people that I surround myself is the people who fashion me and shape me. But God is the one that's the original fashioner, the original shaper. So how do we allow people around us to mold us into what they want us to be? That's something we have to work on. See, these are things that we got to go to God for and get on our knees and talk about. God, show me for who I really am. See, these are the things that we need to be saying when we pray. We so shallow when we pray. We don't be real. We don't go to God and ask him for him to show us who we are to ourselves. That's a very humbling prayer, and that's a prayer that will be answered, because then you'll start to see your ugliness. There was a meme that I saw on Facebook, and it was saying that, I'm sorry, not on Facebook, on Instagram, and it was saying that it was a person looking in the mirror, but the picture of the person was beautiful, but the picture in the mirror was ugly, and it was saying if people could really see their character, they would see how ugly they were. So when you get on your prayer, when you get down on your knees on your prayer rug, as Muslims pray on the prayer rug, when you get down on your knees and you ask God to show you your ugliness, he'll show it to you. And now you can work on accepting that. And now that's what you can work on perfecting and asking God to help you, to help surround you with people that can help you nip that in the bud.
Right. And see, that's a part of kind of what we mentioned earlier, is being able to be sisterly and brotherly to one another, because you may pray and your prayer is answered immediately, because God will put in your circle. He will put those inside of you or not inside of you. He will put those around you who actually can help by correcting you. Because I can't see, the back of my head like you can see. Oh, sister, you got something right here. Let me help you with that. But if I got a sister who she understands that she's my keeper, I got a brother and they understand that's my keeper, then hey, they're my keeper, then it's no sweat off of their back to make sure that they help me. And that's what we need to do more of. Help one another so that we can all get to a place together and no man nor woman is left behind. Each one teach one. I pull you up, but it doesn't mean that I'm going to allow you to pull me back down. So I don't mind helping you up out the ditch, but at the same time, if me helping to pull you up out of the ditch is going to cost me to come fall down in the ditch, now I don't know. We're going to have to talk, right?
Yeah, we won't be waddling in the mud. but seriously, what is it that we need to do as Black people to start loving each other? And I think, as we've been talking about self-love, is first love yourself. You first have to learn to love that person in the mirror. Because every other person that you see that looks like you is basically you looking in the mirror.
Right.
You can't kill people that you love. When we look at violence, we look at the things that we do to each other. If you really, really have a serious love for yourself, then you're going to love those who look like you too. And so I just think it begins with self-love. It begins with, even with parents, rearing their children in love, teaching their children when they're here who they are, the greatness in them, love for who you are as a person. And I get it. You got a lot of people out here like, oh, I don't see color, and we're all this and that. But charity begins at home. Right. I agree. Yeah. If you don't love you, how can you sit here and tell me that you love other people and you don't even love yourself?
Because we don't know who we are. We can't love ourselves if we don't know who we are. We as a people don't even know we the original people on the planet. It was a young man. I'm talking, me working in the prison. Young man, red hair. When I say died, he had red braids in his head, talking loud. And I said, young man, come here. I said, I have to ask you a question. Number one, why are you so loud? Because the person you talking to is right next to you. Second, why you dye your hair red? He told me, because I want to be seen. So I said to him, I said, everybody sees you when you walk into the room. I said, your melanin makes people see you. I said, look at the beautiful melanin in your skin. I said, if that don't command respect, I don't know what else do. And he was so quiet. It was like he had never heard that before. He had never heard that type of teaching. I told him, what I need you to do is learn who you are, because you don't have to do anything extra for people to notice you or to respect you, because it's already there in your creation. We don't teach our children. Matter of fact, many of us adults need to teach ourselves. We just need to accept on and be ourselves. We need to read on who we are as a people. Our self-hatred a lot comes from when you're in elementary school and everything you taught about Black people, we always subservient. Ain't that something? We subservient. Every time we open a book in school, we always a second-class citizen. How can I love myself if everything I read about myself or been taught about myself is negative, or I'm always in a subservient position? We need to stop looking to our enemy to educate us on our own history. We need to educate ourselves. We need to learn who we are. Go to the library and find you some books on the true history of Black people. And it didn't start in slavery. I wish
there we go. And let me just say this while you make a mention of this, and this is no disrespect to any of our brothers and sisters who seek knowledge and understanding and have a desire to know who they are. and decide that they want to focus their attention on African history and African studies and seek a degree. But think about it this way. How can you go to a university and the same man that put your grandmothers and grandfathers and great-grandparents in shackles is the same person who's standing there teaching you about your history? Do you think that they actually are really giving you a true sense of who you are? They don't have the capacity or the capability to be able to present to you or introduce to you anything about yourself. It would be much wiser, maybe, for you to consider seeking another degree in something else, and then on your own going out among circles where there is a body of knowledge that's taught by your own people that can provide you with a direction of the so-called African history. But I see this happening a lot, and then what happens is you graduate with that degree, and then you find yourself not being able to do anything with it. And again, this is no disrespect for those who do this, because I understand why we desire to do that. But and I just thought I would share that or say that because you made mention. So what do you all say as it relates to some of the remedies, some of the things that we can do to help one another get back on the path so that there is less, I guess you would say, signs of hatred and disdain for one another as a people?
I think moving forward, we have to be knowledgeable that that's present, and to think that, oh, that ain't me. It's all of us. I mean, at times I have to catch myself. Mm-hmm. So we all have to do a self-analysis and say, okay, what behaviors am I demonstrating that are self-destructive or destructive to my community? That's one of the big things. We have to accept the fact that all of us collectively are self-destructive, and it's affecting our community. And once you accept the fact that you are contributing to the destruction of our community, it's the only way that we can fix on the individual level. And after fixing it on the individual level, can we fix it on the community level?
I'm going to say one of the things that I think I would love to see people do, especially in the age of social media and sharing, is to stop sharing negative things about black people. Because the only thing you do is reinforce stereotypes and reinforce the hatred and the self-hatred. I would love to see. I think that's one of the things that we really need to do. You see a story that is negative about somebody, resist the urge to share it. Resist the
Kanye
urge.
Stories?
Huh?
No Kanye stories?
Well, oh, yeah, I know, right?
You know.
But we don't have to dog each other out. Resist the urge to do that. Speak life. What is it that, if you're going to post something negative, think of something positive that you can say to that about that situation. Maybe it could be a negative situation, but you can still say, well, maybe this is what we need to do to help this person not think this way. Versus, look at this coon. Look at this so and so.
Because we be ready to beat folks up.
Yeah, and come on.
Shoot. It ain't safe out here. It ain't safe out here.
And guess what? You'll be called a coon real quick if you say something that just somebody disagrees with because it doesn't fit into their ideology. Now all of a sudden somebody is a coon. And you calling people coon that's been out here doing the work in the community, helping people, and you have the audacity to call them a coon while you sitting up behind your keyboard.
Right.
You know, you're a keyboard activist. You're a keyboard revolutionary. Miss me with all that nonsense.
Water cooler militants. I love them.
So but seriously, we can just think about that. I don't have to sit up here and dog out black men. Yes, there are some black men who do some horrible things, but there's so many of them that do the right thing. I'm more interested in discussing the brothers that are doing the right thing. That's what you're going to see me sharing. You're going to see me sharing the love for the black man, and I don't care about that sister that's angry with the black man because she got to say something negative about him because somebody did you wrong. We all have been hurt.
Yes. And you make a really good point, Akila, because oftentimes what I saw this a lot. Well, I won't even mention some of the things, social media I was going to call out. But what I will say is this. I see a lot of us who are in pain. We've been hurt in many ways, and we allow our pain to cripple us and cause us not to be able to think clearly in other situations. So because and I know this is really sensitive, so I don't even want to too much touch on this, and this is actually another conversation with the Royal Empress. But let's say, I'm just going to use this as an example, but, let's say that maybe I might have been taken advantage of, as a child by whomever, whatever. And because of that, I didn't get the help that I needed for whatever reason. Maybe I didn't have the finances. Maybe I just didn't get the help because in the family we just don't get help because we're supposed to pray it out and walk it out. And then I grow up, and now I still have that pain on me. And then I find myself in a situation, hey, let's say I'm on social media, and then something comes up. And then immediately, because of the pain that I carry, I begin to lash out on my brother or my sister, whomever. Only because it's really unresolved. It's not necessarily that situation has anything to do with me per se, or maybe it's just that I've been triggered because I didn't take care or I didn't get the help that I needed. We have to get the help that we need so that we can heal, so that when we do speak, when we do find ourselves in situations, our response is not knee-jerk, or our response is not based on emotions. Because I see that so often. But that, again, it goes back to what you mentioned earlier, Keila, about, healing. And just recognizing that we need help. We need help. We're not going to get rid of hatred. We're not going to get rid of feelings towards one another to where we actually literally want to cause harm to somebody because they don't agree. We want to literally castrate and hang and lynch our own kind simply because we have a difference of opinion. The only way that we can actually get rid of that, we have to uproot it. Get all the way down to the core of what's really going on, which we do understand a lot of is lack of love for who we are. But we have to get down deep in the trenches, and that's why we have shows like this. So for those of you who are listening out there, and you enjoy this podcast, or you feel that we are saying something that is of interest or that can actually help somebody, then it's your duty, beloved, to share. Share with another brother and sister who you think this may benefit. Just like you would share the gossip, share the good news. Let them know that, hey, I heard something, and I think it might be good for you and good for our people, and I want you to hear it too, because that's what we do as brothers and sisters. We want to share so that we can lift one another up and not tear one another down. And I just wanted to just say real quickly, too, when you ask about what else can we do, one of the things that came to mind, and I know we are scheduled to talk about this in the future, but what came to mind is that there's something, we've been blessed with something called the 8 Steps of Atonement.
Yes.
And that definitely is something for another, a future conversation. But within the 8 steps of atonement, we have been given a solution to how we might be able to handle some of the things that we discussed this evening.
I would be interested in people also leaving solutions.
Great, yes.
Yeah, drop a message. Leave something. We don't want to hear anything negative. What is a solution? How do you think we can stop the self-hatred and the hatred towards one another? How do we lead with love? How can we heal ourselves as a community? And I think it would be great to hear what some of our viewers have to say, and maybe we'll, on another podcast, we'll read some of the responses.
That would be wonderful, Akila. I think that is, because we're all about making sure that we speak and we represent, the people. This is for you. This is about you. So how befitting. And it would be absolutely wonderful, even to have somebody who feels like they have more to share come on the show. If you feel like you're an expert in a particular area, or if you know someone and you're like, you know what, I think they would be perfect on the show to talk about this, that, and the other. Let us know. Drop us a line. So we'd like to thank you once again for joining us.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Conversations with the Royal Empress. Tune in next week for another enlightening conversation. For more information on the Royal Empress, please visit the website royalempress.org. You can also follow the Royal Empress on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Conversations with the Royal Empress is a subsidiary of the Royal Empress Organization. All rights reserved.